It's great to have back on the program Chris Hadnagy, who's a professional social engineer who gets paid to vish, scam people, and break into places to test security. His new book is co-written with Michelle Fincher. It's called Phishing Dark Waters: The Offensive and Defensive Sides of Malicious Emails. So I've always been fascinated by scams, and I would love to hear from you right now. What are the most prevalent, looking at the offensive side first, the prevalent phishing attempts that are going on via malicious emails?
I think right now something that's still popular, it's been popular for quite a few years, is any phishing email that seems to come from UPS or FedEx, or there's a new one that's from the US Postal Service that says you have a package that couldn't be delivered because they either couldn't find you or something to that effect, and you need to click here in order to reschedule that package. That fish still seems to be around in different forms and to get clicks nonstop.
And why do you think that one is still effective? I mean, I guess if you think about it, when you get a call saying, "Oh, your computer," the virus one where your computer has a virus, or "I'm a barrister from Nigeria and I've got 20 million bucks," there's that won't resonate maybe with as many people as anyone who might be waiting for a package to be delivered, which is probably a good portion of those in the U.S., right?
Yeah, I would say most people either have gotten, can get, or if they get a message about it, are curious about a package they may be receiving. Whereas, like you just said, the majority of people realize there's not a Nigerian prince willing to share $40 million with me for helping them. Although that particular scam, unbelievably, still works quite well.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. So walk us through the logistics of the package delivery one. You click, the website maybe looks like UPS or FedEx, and then what information is it that people are sort of tricked into putting in?
So there's two different versions of this that I have seen in the wild. First is you click and nothing happens. It goes to like an error page. It looks like an error, but what's happening in the background is it's downloading malware or Trojans or ransomware to your computer. So now your computer's infected with malicious code that will allow the attacker either to gain access to your computer or to have ransomware on your computer. They crypt it and charge you money in order to get it unlocked. The second version of that is what you said, where the website looks just like a FedEx login or a USPS login, and now they're taking the chance that you have a particular account with that company. So let's say it's the FedEx email, and you go to try to log into your FedEx account, and now they're harvesting your credentials. So they're taking your FedEx login and password, which a lot of times if you have a FedEx account, there's lots of personal details, company details, credit cards, and other information inside that account that they will now have access to because they have your credentials.
So, what are the different categories of these types of malicious emails? Because some of what you're alluding to could be sort of identity theft style. Others could be actually just trying to get your money. And we hear about the Western Union scams where you receive a check for 2,000 for something you were selling for 1,000. And the scammer asks you to send them that difference back with some kind of explanation. And then, of course, the entire $2,000 check at some point turns out to be fraudulent, and you're out that $1,000. There's corporate espionage. What are the different categories that exist?
You named a lot of them. There's also probably one of the biggest ones right now is just the one that was trying to infect your machine. Ransomware is becoming more and more prevalent. So we see that more, as well as Trojans and other malware that attack the machine in order to get access to it or access to data on the machine. Credential harvesting is a huge one, where they're trying to harvest credentials for things like your bank, Amazon account, iTunes, anything that has a link to something they can purchase or steal other information. Like we saw with the healthcare database breaches recently, they're using that information now to say, like, send you a fish if you were part of the one of the Blue Cross hacks. Oh, your insurance account may have been breached. Please log in here in order to change their passwords or something like that. And you go to log in, it looks just like a legitimate login. Now they have your username and login. Here's the unfortunate truth with that kind of fish. Too many people, they say about 68% of the people that have been surveyed and answered this honestly, reuse their passwords. So if I'm an attacker and I now send you a fish, and I know that you had Blue Cross because you were part of that hack, and now I get your password that you used, there's a 68% chance that you've reused that password on your email, your banks, or some other website. Now I can just basically go and try that password on any website that you have access to, and if I gain access to that, I can just further the attack on your life.
And
Um,
what are some of the sort of emotional principles that are at play to get someone to fall into this? I mean, I know, when the IRS scam was going on shortly before tax day, where people were getting calls from individuals claiming to work for the IRS saying, "Hey, you owe money, you've got to pay us or you might go to jail." My mom almost fell for it because she got a call about my brother who's living outside of the country, and it just so happens he was very close to being late on filing his taxes. So she said, "Oh, he actually might owe some money here." And she fortunately called her accountant before doing anything. And the fear of a fine seemed to be
yes.
sort of like the active emotion that was at play there. What are some of the different sort of social engineering tactics here?
So fear is a big one. They use it a lot. Like your account's been compromised, credit card may be compromised. Another one is curiosity, like with the FedEx package. That's not so much fear. That's, I have a package, I couldn't get delivered. Let me check that out and see what I need to do. Another one could be greed. The reason the 419 scam or the Nigerian prince scam still works is there's people out there that really believe maybe I can make it big with this one little risk. So greed is another big one, and then there's just all those emotions mixed together. Maybe a little bit of fear with a little bit of curiosity, and people will take the action that they need, that the attacker wants them to take.
And do the security awareness programs work? So, you hear from, for example, PayPal often will send emails saying, "We will never ask for this set of information." And the idea being, of course, oh, if I'm ever asked for that, it's not really PayPal. Why doesn't that really work well? Is it because these emotions override that?
So there's a few reasons. So let me answer your first question. Security awareness training is effective, but not all of it. So what we have found through our company, through doing this for years and years, is that long drawn out videos or games don't stick with people. They don't affect them in the heart. So that type of security awareness is not really making an effective change in people's lives to recognize phishing. So we have to change the methodology that we're using in educating our population, our staff, our families to be something shorter, quicker, and more impactful in order for them to have that effect. But why does it still work is the question. Because the attackers are getting more and more legitimate. I'll give you a piece of news that we just had. It's just like crazy. There is now on the dark web, there is a company offering 24/7, 365 support to phishers to help them perfect their English and grammar in their phishing emails. So these attackers can pay a small fee, and someone will rewrite their phish in perfect English with good grammar, and help them legitimize it by branding, logos, those type of things. So now you're getting an email from what looks like PayPal, and it looks just like PayPal. It has the brand, it has a URL that looks similar, the links look good, and there's very little for the victim to look at that and go, I don't think this is legitimate. So it's easier to believe it than to not believe it. That's why.
Is it legal to do that? Because the company rewriting the emails is not really breaking any laws, right? I mean, they could be presented with any texts just get hired to correct essentially.
Well, I would imagine that if they got caught, there would be an aiding and abetting, because they are aiding and abetting illegal activity. A lot of these emails they're known to be phish. This is a dark web service, so it's not on the open web, and these people know that they're offering this service to organizations that are sending out malicious phish. So I think on that end, they definitely know they're doing something illegal. The service in itself is not, but what they're doing it for is.
Last thing, and we have limited time left. What's the best way for one to defend themselves from this? I mean, to say I'm just never going to interact with the internet is increasingly just not pragmatic. So what
No.
can people do?
And that's not practical either. What we tell people is first and foremost is critical thinking. So let's go back to your example of PayPal. Let's say I get an email from PayPal saying that my account may be compromised. Don't click on any links in that email. Open up a browser, go to PayPal on the address you know, log into your account with the login that you know, and check your account there. If you don't see anything and you're still curious, email PayPal through that legitimate login. You get an email from your bank saying the same thing, get your credit card out, turn the credit card over, and call the toll-free number on the back of that card. Too many times, because we're busy, we go for the quick route, which is click that link, call the number that's in the email, and that's exactly what the attacker wants us to do. So primarily, it's critical thinking, taking that little bit of extra time to take that step that can save you probably from, let's say, 80 or 90% of the attacks that are out there.
The book is Phishing Dark Waters, the Offensive and Defensive Sides of Malicious Emails. We've been speaking to Chris Hadnagy, one of the co-authors of the book, along with Michelle Fincher. Chris, always great to have you on.
Thank you. You too. Nice to talk to you again.